Welcome to the Time Capsule Show, where we explore life in the 21st century through the eyes of people just like you and me. I'm Monica, and today we have a special guest. He's a real estate manager, Mr. Vasilios Kambouras. Welcome, Vasilios.
Thank you.
So, can you tell us a little more about what you do? What inspired you to take on your profession?
So it started in high school. I was 16 years old. I didn't really fit in with the crowd. Like seriously, no one knew where to put me. And I met someone through mutual friends older than me. I always associated with older people. I guess it's a natural instinct. They're wiser. And he brought me in as a real estate assistant. And it really wasn't my type of personality at all. I was very into yoga at the time. And so going into the real estate business, it's a totally different course, totally different mindset. And it definitely was struggling at first, but I learned basically through that kind of involvement as an assistant, and I developed these skills. And something not many people do. Many people are focused on the formal educational route, and there's a lot to gain just going out there and actually working with people that you meet. I think that's a natural way to do it. That's how it's been done for a very long time. People meet, they share skills and such. And I worked my way up to the point where I met someone who's associated with a particular client that has a large real estate portfolio, and I was able to market it. And so I kind of got brought on, and I do a lot of the email marketing for this national real estate portfolio. And that's sort of how it happened. There was no official structure, very loose.
So, what is like your day-to-day on the job?
It partially depends on where I am. I've been able to expand my work in a sense just by taking action and just trying out new things, because it's very loose. It's basically the people I work with are almost like friends. It's a wonderful environment that we've all developed together. But for the most part, it's finding companies for specific properties, and all the properties are different. Some are land, some are shopping centers, some are just retail vacancies, which is taking a huge hit right now, like especially right now. It's a big hit. That's pretty much it.
So, is there like one event that happened during your career that was like really fun, or you still remember it?
Well, I made a huge change in my life last year in November. I decided to move to Texas. um, I I move very quickly. My life changes quickly. Just I'm always trying to learn and do things better. And so I literally call up my partners like a month in advance, and I'm like, "Hey, I think I'm gonna move to Texas." And they're completely fine with it. Most of the portfolio that I manage is in Texas, so I thought, okay, I can create a reason. The real reason was because I wanted to lower my taxes. I don't like government, very libertarian, wanted to reduce my tax rate. And I think people should continue to move forward like that towards liberation. So that's one pursuit to liberation, external liberation. And so I moved to Texas. And that was huge because I had no family there, no one that I knew. I just picked a spot that seemed really good on Airbnb. I knew I had enough to pay the rent for at least 2 months, and I could plan the checks that are coming in and be like, okay, this is going to work out. And I made that jump. I just did it. And that was huge. I ended up buying my first car there, just off a private lot. I knew nothing about cars. My friend helped me a little bit, but I bought the cheapest car in the lot. And that car took me many places. I got to see a lot of the real estate sites we have that I wouldn't have seen otherwise. And it was a lot of fun. So that was a big experience in my life that happened recently.
Cool. So, if you were pursuing a different path, what would you be doing and why?
So right now I'm learning software engineering on the side. I'm doing it's called full stack development, which is front end and back end. Back end is like all the storage of information and everything that happens behind the scenes. Front end is what you see, the presentation. And I took out a loan to do a course for that. It was like a $10,000 loan over 2 years, because I saw that as the future. And I'm very influenced by the objectivist philosophy, which states that man should continue moving forward as a productive innovator in this world, that we should not submit to stagnation or to the idea that I can't do it, that we should continue to move forward and become better. That is the objectivist view on the world. And so I thought, okay, what is the highest pursuit right now in this economy? What's the highest thing you can aspire to? And I decided that that is a software engineer, and the road is wide open. Anyone can do it. Anyone can take out a loan and just go learn it. And you don't need a degree. That is your passport to the economy. You could make a high-paying job like that. You don't need a formal education. It's beautiful, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what I would recommend.
So if you're like in high school, have you considered anything like a different career instead of real estate managing?
Oh man, in high school I was so confused. I had three things that I concluded before I decided to go into software engineering. It was either going to be law, business, or political science. Those were my three main interests, or maybe economics. But those were too defined for me. I'm a very open kind of person, and doing something too defined is not good for people that are, I guess you could say, are creative. Um, they'll just suffer.
I see. So that brings us back to our third question. We like to call this section past, present, future. So how do you see yourself now compared to 5 years ago?
5 years ago, I didn't know who I was. Like, really didn't know who I was, and that's when I was making all the mistakes in my life, I guess you could say. Um, I was in high school at that time. I think I graduated like 2 years ago. I didn't go to college. Um, and so now the only difference is I'm not in high school. High school is kind of irrelevant to me. It doesn't matter if I went through that system or not. Didn't make any difference in my life. Now I've just developed more skills, and I'm sort of I have the perception to see. That's the biggest difference. That I see where I'm going now.
So where do you see yourself in 5 years?
Oh, I thought you asked me 5 years before.
Well, five
Um,
years now and then later.
okay, well, in 5 years, this is something that I'm actually currently planning. I was deciding if I should leave the United States. That was actually my literal 5 year goal. Like that was my goal for the next 5 years, actually, coincidentally, to be in Romania with a Greek passport, because I'm Greek by descent, and so that's something that I could acquire easily. And that's just me trying to escape the tax system in the United States, because it's one of the most draconian tax systems in the entire world. It's like France and those countries, insane tax system, like really crazy in terms of the authority to it. And it ruins people's lives, and people should come to terms. This is our problem as a society. So I was thinking about leaving and going to Romania or one of the Balkan countries, because they have uh, 0% taxes for software engineers, particularly, or software companies. So my goal was really, okay, let me make a software company to innovate the real estate industry, since I've lived through it and I understand the problems firsthand. And for me, that's sending a certain amount of emails to a certain amount of people and being able to really scale that up. And so that was my 5 year goal, but now I'm thinking maybe I'll stay in Houston, on a farm, and work within the American economy and work out from there, since it's such a robust economy in that you have a large population of people. And because of that, businesses can grow, even though you have a very totalitarian tax system. So I'm still working that out, but I really love Houston, Texas, and I'm in love with it. It's beautiful.
It's like really funny because the Americans fought the British over taxes and now we're like bogged down with taxes. So,
Yep. Yeah.
what principles do you like to live your life by?
I was confused for a long time about principles because I subscribed to two things that were often thought of as contradictory: spirituality and objectivism. Many people think these are two completely separate pursuits, to be spiritual and then to be objective. People associate that with materialism. And just recently, I made a video regarding the bridge between them, which I found to be rationality, that spirituality is a rational pursuit. And so that should be added to the hierarchy of objectivism. I'm not sure if you're familiar with objectivism,
No.
put out by the philosopher Ayn Rand.
Oh, I heard of Ayn Rand, but I never know that there was a name for it.
So, yes, her philosophy was called objectivism. It basically derives from the conditions necessary for man's survival, of which she concluded was capitalism and a free market, that man must be free to pursue his own happiness in his own course of life. So it goes beyond politics. It derives from a philosophical premise on the nature of people. And from that, she constructed a whole philosophy that man's guided by self interest. And when I started to get into yoga, I found that they conflicted. And so I tried to bridge them in some ways because both of them seemed correct in their own way. It's just that they're leading towards two different things. And so I'm constantly trying to achieve internal and external liberation. I'm trying to have those two concepts recognized by people, that they're both two paths to liberation, two different kinds of liberation. So I'm an advocate of capitalism and I'm a yogi. That's something that you don't see often, but that's what I'm trying to advocate in the world, to bring those two people together. And I think that could create a beautiful situation.
So, did you read Atlas Shrugged and The Fountainhead?
I didn't get there yet.
Okay.
But I have those books. I haven't got there yet though.
So, is there like a particular role model that you like or you subscribe to their beliefs?
Um I would have to say his name is Sadhguru. Not sure if you heard of him. He's the founder of Isha Foundation, which is basically just a yoga foundation. They teach, you could say, like historical or ancient forms of yoga that I would say are like have preserved themselves, like the real form. You could say, not, I don't want to belittle it, but not the American form of yoga, which I consider as mostly exercise. They have taken it from far back in Indian history and brought like the real form for spiritual transformation. And this man has done amazing things for the world, amazing things beyond yoga, helping people. And so he's someone that I looked up to since 14 years old. That's when I was first introduced to the foundation. He has a YouTube channel. And then Ayn Rand is another person that I look to for things dealing with the physicality, where you need to apply rationality to the issue.
So, what would you say you are grateful for?
I guess it would have to be my situation. Honestly, um, as much as I like to appreciate people's ability to move forward regardless of their situation, it is something that we should all appreciate. Even when you wake up every morning, that you're alive, that the people you're friends with are alive. This is something that was mentioned by Sadhguru. A certain amount of people, like millions or something, every morning they don't wake up, and it's something to be appreciative of. Just that the first thing when you wake up, I'm alive. This is a wonderful thing. A smile for that I'm alive. This is the most fundamental thing of all things. People are very distracted by other things that they miss the bigger picture. It's like, I'm alive. This is a wonderful thing. So my situation that I'm here right now, I'm very grateful for that.
Cool. So if you were to leave something in a time capsule for people to dig up 100 years later, what would you put in there and why?
It would probably have to be um, the books by Sadhguru and Ayn Rand. And the reason being is that I think this sort of knowledge needs to be preserved. We're heading towards a future that is becoming very censorship in nature.
Mhm.
Um, of course, the free market is making innovations to protect us from that with decentralization and all of this, but it's the fundamentals of life that I want to preserve. And I think that derives from spirituality and objectivism. I think those are really good fundamentals that people should keep in mind.
Definitely. Is there anything else that you'd like to add or to tell our viewers?
Um, you know, my only goal here is I'm just hoping to advocate a free world externally for everyone, a free market, and to help people achieve internal liberation. That is my goal.
Cool. Well, thank you so much, Vasilios, for coming on our show, and tune in next week for another amazing addition to our time capsule. Bye.
Thank you.